Have you ever considered the possibility that the person holding you back might be you? Not your parents, not society, not your boss. You. Think back. Remember the first time you didn't speak your truth because you were afraid it would sound stupid. Remember the moment you said yes when every cell in your body was screaming no just to be liked. That was the beginning, the first brick. You didn't notice it, then it felt harmless, even polite. But slowly, decision by decision, silence after silence, you built something. A structure, a mask, a life not entirely your own. What started as protection became a cage. And the saddest part, you locked the door from the inside. Now here you are, successful, maybe surrounded perhaps, yet something inside you feels off, heavy, like a pressure in your chest no breath can ease. That pressure isn't anxiety. It's the weight of all the parts of yourself you've abandoned just to survive. But what if you could dismantle that prison brick by brick? Would you dare to begin? You are your own prison, not in theory, in truth. And no one ever told you this, not because it wasn't obvious, but because they were too busy building their own cages to notice yours. We all begin free. As children, we speak honestly, move authentically, cry when we're hurt, and laugh when we're moved. But somewhere along the way, we learn that honesty can cost us love, that authenticity can be too much, that tears make others uncomfortable. So we adjust, we edit, we swallow the truth and wear what the room wants to see. And it feels harmless at first, like being polite, like growing up. But brick by brick, these little compromises begin to form walls. The wall you built when you didn't speak up. The gate you welded shut when you chose safety over truth. The bars you added when you betrayed your own instinct just to be liked. You call it adaptation, but your soul knows better. It calls it abandonment. And now you wake up in a life that looks good on paper. Maybe you have the job, the partner, the carefully filtered timeline that says you made it, but deep inside there's a silence, a weight, a question you avoid because you already know the answer. Whose life is this really? You think you're just tired, anxious, burned out. But what you're actually feeling is the spiritual exhaustion of playing a role that was never yours. You are not overworked. You are overwhelmed by your own absence. And here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. You built this prison, not out of malice, out of fear. And that fear made you obedient to expectations, to validation, to applause that fades the second you step off the stage. But if you built the prison, you can unbuild it too. It won't be easy. It will take courage. And it will cost you every lie you've ever told yourself just to feel safe. But what you'll get in return is yourself. The word sounds like safety, like certainty, like power. You've been taught your entire life that if you can just control enough things, your schedule, your image, your emotions, your future, then everything will fall into place. You'll be safe, you'll be respected, you'll finally be happy. But here's the truth no one dares to say, control is an illusion, a beautifully packaged lie. And the more you cling to it, the more you disconnect from the actual experience of being alive. Because life in its very nature is chaos. It's unpredictable, untamed, unscripted. You don't get to control how people see you when things fall apart, or how tomorrow will unfold. And trying to force those outcomes only makes you anxious, exhausted, and hollow. What you call being in control is often just a desperate attempt to outrun fear. Fear of failure, fear of being misunderstood, fear of not being enough. But here's the paradox: the more you try to control your world, the less control you actually have. You begin to micromanage every part of your life, your relationships, your body, even your own thoughts, until everything starts to feel rigid, mechanical, lifeless. And yet, despite the burnout, you keep holding tighter, because letting go feels like giving up, like losing, like death. But in reality, letting go is not surrendering to chaos, it's surrendering to truth. And truth is the only thing that sets you free. Think about it. All the tension in your shoulders, the sleepless nights, the feeling that you're always behind, always not enough, that doesn't come from life being out of control. It comes from the belief that it should be in your control. That belief is the real trap. It keeps you in a constant state of performance. A loop where peace is always one task away, one achievement away, one compliment away. But it never arrives, does it? The truth is, the more you try to hold it all together, the more you fall apart inside. Because control was never the goal. Presence was, connection was, wholeness was. But none of that can exist where control rules. So maybe it's time to loosen your grip, not because you're weak, but because you're finally strong enough to stop pretending. Somewhere along the way, you stop being you, not all at once. It didn't happen in some dramatic moment. No, it was subtle, quiet, almost invisible. A slow erosion of your true self beneath the pressure to be acceptable, likable, productive, and safe. It began the first time you felt the need to shrink your light because someone said you were too much. It deepened when you bit your tongue instead of speaking your truth because speaking felt dangerous. And every time you traded your intuition for someone else's approval, a piece of you drifted further away. You didn't even realize it. Because the world cheered you on. They clapped when you achieved, praised you when you performed, accepted you when you complied. But it wasn't really you they were applauding. It was the carefully constructed version of you, the curated self, the mask. And the longer you wore that mask, the more you began to forget what your real face even looked like. You no longer know which thoughts are truly yours and which were downloaded from a culture obsessed with perfection and performance. You don't know if your desires are authentic or if they're just echoes of what you've been told you should want. And so you feel disconnected. Even when you're surrounded, you feel exhausted, even when you haven't moved. Because it takes an incredible amount of energy to be someone you're not day after day after day. And here's the most painful part. There was never anything wrong with the real you. The world just made you believe that being yourself was a risk. So you traded your truth for safety, your voice for silence, your essence for acceptance. But acceptance that requires you to abandon yourself is not love, it's survival. And survival is not living. The reason you feel that constant emptiness even when life seems fine is because your soul is grieving. Grieving the parts of you that were silenced, minimized, or forgotten. Grieving a self that's been waiting patiently for your return. The good news. That version of you, the real you, isn't gone, just buried. And you don't need to become someone new. You just need to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You've been taught that letting go is weakness, that detachment means apathy, that real love, real commitment, real success requires holding on tightly. But what if everything you've believed about holding on is backwards? We live in a world that confuses attachment with meaning. We grip relationships, identities, and goals so tightly that we begin to suffocate ourselves in the process. We hold on not because they feed us, but because we're afraid of what might be left if we let go. But here's the truth Montaigne understood from his quiet tower centuries ago. Detachment is not indifference. Detachment is liberation. It is the sacred act of choosing freedom over fear. It's standing in the center of your life and realizing that your worth does not depend on the outcome, that you are not your achievements, your roles, or your relationships. You are not your image. You are not the version of you others expect to see. True detachment is not about giving up. It's about letting go of what was never really yours to begin with. Let go of the need to be understood. Let go of the desire to control how others see you. Let go of the old stories that were handed to you like costumes at a play you never agreed to perform in, and watch what happens. Suddenly your energy returns. Your clarity sharpens. Your heart stops begging and starts listening. Because when you detach from what doesn't define you, You make space for what does. This isn't easy. Detachment requires radical courage. It means you might disappoint people. It means letting things fall apart that were never built on truth to begin with. But it also means stepping into a life that's finally yours. A life where you are no longer performing, pretending, or clinging. Freedom begins the moment you stop gripping the rope that's burning your hands. And when you finally open your palms, yes, it may hurt, but what you'll find is that you were never falling. You were just never free. There's a quiet kind of grief that comes from achieving everything you were told to want and still feeling empty. It's the moment you realize you've been living inside a blueprint that wasn't drawn by your own hands. You did everything right, didn't you? You followed the rules, i.e., took the smart path, checked all the boxes, you chose the college that impressed others, took the job that paid well, built the relationship that looked good from the outside, and yet somewhere deep inside, something doesn't feel quite right. That discomfort you keep brushing aside, that subtle ache in your chest. It's not burnout. It's not a midlife crisis. It's your soul quietly whispering, "This isn't mine." The truth is, most of the goals you've been chasing weren't born from your essence. They were planted there by culture, family, fear, and comparison. You were handed a definition of success before you were old enough to ask yourself what truly mattered to you. And now, even with the title, the salary, the milestones, you feel like a stranger inside your own life. But here's the good news. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to ask, whose dream am I living? You're allowed to burn the map and walk a new path, even if you built the old one with your own hands. Real success isn't about reaching a destination that impresses others. It's about arriving at a life that feels like home. It's waking up and feeling aligned, not just accomplished. It's choosing goals that reflect who you are, not who you were taught to be. And yes, letting go of the old goals will feel like loss. But it's not the loss of yourself, it's the loss of what never truly belonged to you. So dare to dream again. Not for the world, not for approval, but for you. Because you are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply waking up. And that is a beginning far more powerful than any finish line you are running toward. You are not just living through events. You are shaping a narrative moment by moment, choice by choice about who you are and what your life means. And the most powerful force in your life may not be your circumstances, but the story you've chosen to tell yourself about them. Maybe your story is quiet, whispered beneath your breath. I'm too much. I'm not enough. This is just the way things are. Or maybe it's loud, masked as confidence, but rooted in fear. If I don't keep succeeding, they'll forget me. If I slow down, I'll fall behind. If I change now, it's too late. But here's the truth. No one ever told you. Those stories are not facts. They're interpretations. They're protective layers formed by pain, rejection, pressure, and fear. And the most dangerous part is this: if you don't question your story, you live it as if it's the only truth. You become the character instead of the author. You act out inherited scripts from your upbringing, culture, trauma, never realizing you have the power to rewrite every line. Yes, rewriting your story means facing discomfort. It means revisiting chapters you'd rather skip. But it also means finding new meaning in old pain. Maybe that heartbreak didn't destroy you, it cracked you open. Maybe that silence wasn't weakness, it was protection. Maybe that mistake wasn't the end, it was the moment you began again. Rewriting doesn't mean erasing, it means reframing. It means looking at your scars not as evidence of failure, but as proof of survival. It means telling the truth, not the one you were handed, but the one that's been waiting inside you all along. And no, you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to pick up the pen. You need to stop living like your story's over. And remember, every day is a blank page. You are the author. The question is no longer, who am I? It's what story am I brave enough to tell now? Letting go sounds simple until it's your turn to do it. Letting go of control, letting go of people, letting go of who you thought you were supposed to be. We romanticize surrender as this graceful, enlightened act. But in reality, it feels like dying, like standing on the edge of a cliff with no guarantee that there's ground beneath the leap, because you've built your entire identity around what you hold on to, your job, your roles, your routines, your image, your worth. And now something inside you is whispering, this isn't it. But the fear says, what if there's nothing on the other side? So you stay. You keep pretending. You keep holding tight to what's familiar, even if it's breaking you, even if it's not you anymore. Here's the paradox. The rope you're clinging to isn't saving you. It's choking you. You think you're holding your life together, but you're actually holding yourself back. Because anything that requires you to abandon your truth just to maintain it is already lost. Letting go doesn't mean losing everything. It means making space. It means clearing the noise so that what's real can rise to the surface. No one tells you that liberation feels like heartbreak at first, because you'll grieve the roles you outgrew. You'll miss the comfort of who you used to be, even if that person was hiding. But beyond the grief, there's something else. A quiet strength, a stillness, a freedom you forgot was possible. Because on the other side of letting go is not emptiness, it's clarity, it's truth, it's breath. And maybe for the first time in your life, you'll stop managing how you're perceived and start discovering who you actually are. So no, letting go isn't easy. It's not soft or romantic. It's raw. It's brave. And it's the doorway to everything your soul has been begging you to feel. You don't have to be ready. You just have to be willing. Because the moment you loosen your grip is the moment your life begins to breathe again. At some point in your life, you must pause and ask, whose story am I living? Because if you're like most people, you've been running on scripts written by someone else, by society's expectations, childhood conditioning, or the fear of being misunderstood. The truth is, we often spend decades building a life that looks right from the outside, but feels wrong on the inside. The lesson here is radical yet simple. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to question what you once called success, to let go of roles that no longer fit, to rewrite your story from a place of truth, not fear. Letting go isn't failure, it's freedom. Detachment doesn't mean giving up, it means choosing with clarity. The real journey isn't about perfection or control, it's about presence, alignment, and the courage to finally come home to yourself. Don't wait for life to fall apart to realize this. Start now. Question everything. And remember, the most meaningful life you'll ever live is the one that's unapologetically your own. So here we are, at the edge of everything you've ever known, facing the uncomfortable truth that your life as it is now may have been shaped more by fear than freedom. And that's not a condemnation, it's a revelation. Because once you see the cage, you can no longer pretend it's not there. You can no longer tell yourself that the anxiety, the exhaustion, the quiet emptiness are just random symptoms. No, they are signals, invitations, cracks in the illusion. You've spent so much of your life trying to be good enough, successful enough, liked enough. And in doing so, you may have slowly drifted away from the only thing that ever truly mattered, yourself. This isn't about abandoning your life. It's about reclaiming it. It's about realizing that the real prison isn't your job, your past, or even other people's expectations. The real prison is the belief that you can't change, that it's too late, that the version of you buried under all those roles and masks and performances is too far gone to be recovered. But that's the lie. Because underneath the silence, the pretending, and the constant striving, you are still there, waiting, hoping, remembering. Remembering what it felt like to be honest, to be alive, to feel things deeply without apologizing for them, to rest without guilt, to speak without editing, to live without performing. And yes, the journey back to that version of you is terrifying, because it means letting go of control and certainty and everything you thought you had to be. It means burning the script and starting from a blank page. But blank pages are not empty, they are sacred. They are where truth begins. Michel de Montaigne once said, "The greatest thing in the world is to know how to belong to oneself." And maybe that's the greatest lesson of all. Not to become someone new, not to fix or upgrade yourself like a project, but to belong to yourself again. To live a life that feels honest in your bones, even if it doesn't impress the world. To choose peace over performance, meaning over noise, presence over perfection. This is not about detaching from life, it's about detaching from the lies you were told about who you have to be in order to deserve it. And now the choice is yours. You can return to the familiar script. You can keep performing the old version of yourself, safe, predictable, slowly fading. Or you can take the risk. You can choose discomfort over disconnection, truth over validation, your voice over the echo chamber. You can rewrite the narrative. And maybe that single act of claiming authorship over your own story will ripple into every part of your life. Maybe it will change how you love, how you work, how you rest, how you breathe. Not by adding more, but by finally letting go of what was never you to begin with. So if this video reached you, if it made something in you stir or ache or remember, know this. That feeling is not random. It's not small. It's your soul knocking from the inside. Answer it. Let this be the beginning of your return to yourself.